Hey guys, so today we are diving into something that went down last week and what has happened since, and that is the ambush seen around the world as President Trump called out South African President Ramaphosa for the genocide of white farmers happening in his country. Now, to be fair, Trump did give Ramaphosa the opportunity to admit that this was happening or acknowledge it in some way, but when he chose denial, he sealed his own humiliating fate, and Trump was like, fine, we'll do this the hard way. The lights went down, and everyone in the room had to listen to the calls by Julius Malema, who is a leader of the far-left political group EFF, leading chants for massive crowds of kill the boer, boer being a word for white farmer. Since then, Ramaphosa still insists that Trump lied and has doubled down and said that these chants are not meant for violence, but merely about liberation.
You know, that slogan, kill the boer, kill the farmer, is a liberation chant and slogan. And it's not meant to be a message that elicits or calls upon anyone to go and be killed. And that is what our court decided.
So today I want to look at what happened in that meeting, but also the wider message and the dire warning that this issue can serve to us if we choose to listen. But before we get too much further, I am Outspoken Samantha, and I would love it if you would hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you so much for doing both of those things. So as we all witnessed last week, President Trump held a meeting with President Ramaphosa of South Africa. Now, while they were obviously there to talk about a number of different issues, there was clearly one thing that Trump had on his mind, and that was to bring attention to the fact that white farmers in South Africa and white people in general have a target on their back, and the violence against them seems to be as a result of the radical extremists in this country inciting anti-white hate amongst their growing group of extremist followers.
Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not?
Wait, to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor.
In this meeting, Trump also shared a clip of a road of crosses that appeared to be representative of the killing of white farmers. However, to be fair, though it's been claimed that these crosses in particular are representative of each white farmer killed, and others have said that this is a burial site for those who have been killed in this way, they are actually associated with a 2020 protest in KwaZulu-Natal province near the town of Newcastle along the P39-1 highway between Newcastle and Normandy. They were part of a temporary memorial dedicated to a white farming couple named Glenn and Vida Rafferty after they were murdered in August of 2020. The crosses, placed along the road on September 5th, 2020 for a funeral procession, symbolized farmers killed in attacks, but these in particular were not burial sites or graves. However, there is a memorial called Place Morte. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it's a memorial that is dedicated to victims of farm attacks, and there is a cross for each farmer that has been murdered since 1994. Discrimination and violence against white people is absolutely a thing in South Africa, but the waters have been muddied enough by those in power to make it easy to brush off the problems that Trump and others are talking about as just examples of a broader issue of violence and not targeted toward anyone in particular. However, there are enough arrows pointing in the direction of white discrimination to deny that this is the reality that white people in South Africa are living with. Let me explain. In 2024, in order to supposedly address the disparity caused by past apartheid in South Africa, the Expropriation Act of 2024 was passed, which allows the government to confiscate land without compensation. Some, including Trump and Elon Musk, have said that this law specifically targets white farmers. But to be fair, the law itself does not specifically say anything about white farmers. But you have to consider the other factors that might make this a problem specifically for white farmers, and that maybe the law wasn't written specifically to target them, because they didn't need to. They just had to lay the foundation for the perfect set of circumstances to take it from there. First, you've got inflammatory figures like Julius Malema, who's not exactly whispering his intention. He's out there rallying massive crowds with chants of "kill the boer," stoking the flames of resentment. His message is clear. The past injustices of apartheid means it's payback time.
To kill no master, kill the boer, the farmer, kill the boer, the farmer.
White people, in his view, owe a debt, and the land is their version of reparation. And again, he's not subtle and has been seen everywhere. And Ramaphosa himself has been a part of it.
Congratulations. Oh, thank you. We give Lela deputy. Okay. For no, this means not relevant. Jealous down. Yeah.
When you've got prominent leaders whipping up this kind of fervor, it's not hard to see how the stage is set for targeting a specific group of people without spelling it out. Second, let's look at the numbers. White people make up only 7 to 8% of the population in South Africa, yet white farmers own roughly 72 to 75% of the privately held farmland. That's not an opinion, it's just fact. So when you push a policy that allows land to be confiscated without compensation, knowing full well that the overwhelming majority of that land is owned by white farmers, you're not exactly crafting a race-neutral law. You're creating a system where the math does the dirty work for you. Combine that with extremists who frame this as righteous retribution, and you've got a recipe for disaster. It's not just about taking land, it's about who's losing it and why. So yeah, if it looks, walks, and quacks like a duck, we're going to call it a movement for genocide. When you design a policy that disproportionately affects one racial group of people, while agitators cheer for their demise and claim it's justice, you don't need to write "target white farmers" in the fine print. The outcomes speak for itself. Also, we have to nail down the words that we're using and what the left means when they say that there's no proof of a white genocide happening. Because when the left says something isn't happening, it's not because it's not, it's because they're playing semantics with their words. Genocide is not about body count. The official definition lays it out as the deliberate and systematic destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, in whole or in part, with specific intent to wipe them out. That can mean killing, causing serious harm, or imposing conditions designed to crush the group's existence. Intent is key, not just the numbers. So are white farmers in South Africa being targeted in this way? Well, the left likes to point to stats like there's some kind of shield. And yes, those are important, but there's other factors to consider, as we've already pointed out. South African police data from 2024 shows 44 farm-related killings out of 26,232 murders, with only 8 victims being farmers, and not all of them white. They'll wave those numbers around and say, see, no genocide happening here, but that's a sleight of hand. Genocide is not just about racking up a high score of corpses. It's about targeting a group with the intent to destroy them. So when, again, you have policies that disproportionately strip land from white farmers who own 72 to 75% of the private farmland, despite being just 7 to 8% of the population, and pair that with figures like Julius Malema chanting "kill the boer" to rile up crowds, then you're not exactly dealing with just a random crime wave. You've got a system and a narrative that singles out a racial group, paints them as oppressors owed a debt, and creates conditions like land confiscation without compensation that dismantle their livelihood and security. That's the kind of imposed conditions the genocide definition is talking about. So no, we're not seeing death camps or mass executions, but when a group is systematically targeted, vilified, and stripped of their means to survive, all while extremists chant for their demise, you don't need a million bodies to start asking the hard questions. The intent matters, and the signs are loud and clear. Call it what you want, but don't pretend that it's nothing.
We have to fight in order to attain freedom as the black majority in this country. And the fight has to be located in taking back the land and expropriate it back into the people, in seizing the means of production, and expropriating everything, or rather redistributing everything equally.
And as conversations have been sparked and attention is being brought to this issue, much to Ramaphosa's dismay, we have more independent journalists doing the work that propaganda machines like CNN, MSNBC, and NBC should be doing, which is going to the source and asking questions of people who are actually living through it. Tayler Hansen recently said on X that he just returned from a visit to South Africa and plans to release a couple of documentaries on it. He says, "I just returned from filming multiple documentaries in South Africa. I can assure you, no one in South Africa sleeps with their doors unlocked. That illusion of safety is reserved for the 1%, people like Cyril Ramaphosa and Johan Rupert, whose wealth is rooted in ANC corruption. Living in mansions protected by 24/7 armed security, motion detectors, cameras, electric fences, biometric gates, and private patrol units does not count as sleeping with your doors unlocked." Meanwhile, the average South African installs burglar bars, panic buttons, razor wire, and sleeps with a gun next to the bed, praying that they will live to see another day. You think people like Cyril Ramaphosa have to organize community protection groups on WhatsApp with his neighbors to stay safe? Decades of state looting and capture have gutted the energy grid, corrupted law enforcement and the judicial system, destroyed the once thriving economy, and unleashed a crime wave so horrifying you'd think you were in a movie. The ultra-rich aren't safe. They're just hiding in fortresses, while the rest of the population are left to survive in what can only be described as a war zone. Angela Rose was another one who took a trip to South Africa herself, and here are a couple of clips based on what she found out.
The boer, the farmer.
So quantitatively, okay, millions of people have not been killed in South Africa, at least not yet. But qualitatively, we've had such extreme violence and torture, and during these farm attacks. But in South Africa, it's moved completely to the left. So if you say we want equality for white people, that's considered a far right statement. So the overturned window is completely to the kind of. If you say kill a boer, kill a farmer.
That's like middle.
That's kind of that's acceptable kind of thing. According
crazy.
to Overton's principles, it's sort of mainstream. It's mainstream. A political party in parliament could say that.
Like stadiums of thousands of people.
Exactly. The highest court in the land, the constitutional court, has stated that is just freedom of speech. But if you use some sort of racial epithet, they would send you to prison.
They say that South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world. What is it like as a white South African?
It's hard. You really struggle to get a job. You really struggle to get a job in South Africa. If you're a white male, some of the most high qualified people, they don't get jobs. You have the BEE and the BBEE. There's a lot of racial laws in South Africa against white people, not even Afrikaans speaking people. Not just the crime. There's a lot of crime as well, and there's the chanting of kill the boer. They don't. It's Julius Malema, the person who he's raising all this violence, and no one does anything about it. But if you go and you can say literally anything to a black person and they will put you in jail. They will put you in jail if you call them, I can't say the word because I'll go to jail. You can even act a little bit racist, and if you're a white person, you'll go to jail.
Charlie Kirk then interviewed a man named Robert Hersov, who has actually done a lot of interviews on a lot of different channels, and he is bringing attention to this issue. Robert is a South African billionaire and investor, and he knows exactly what is going on in this country and why.
Raving, kill the boer with gunshot noises. But Robert, I am told by our media we are lacking cultural context. What am I missing here?
Missing nothing. The left wing, the mainstream media, believe we deserve it. We deserve it. That's how sick the left is. This is a terrifying situation. The economy is broken. A million South Africans have emigrated, have left. The white population of South Africa is 7%. It used to be 20%. And listen to these statistics. Our unemployment rate is 40%, and our youth unemployment rate is 60%. So the ANC government has destroyed the economy, broken all the state-owned enterprises, and now, after 31 years, because they've failed, what are they using as the excuse? Colonialism, whiteness, apartheid. And they're trying to do that to reclaim the ability to steal from this country. But on the far left, you have these guys, the economic freedom fighters, who ought to be jailed, and if not jailed, sanctioned.
Why would the media be lying about this? And why would South Africa's own government be lying about this?
88% of South Africans are Christians, conservative, and they want the same thing all South Africans and all Americans want: a better life, safety, security, basic services, opportunity for a job and dignity, and a better life for their children. The vast majority of South Africans want that. But it's the ruling party who are the gangsters, who want to stay in power, and who, in a malevolent and pernicious way, want to keep people poor, homeless, hopeless, unemployed, and uneducated, so that they can bribe them with social grants. 28 million South Africans, 28 million out of 60, survive on social grants. Our economy is growing at 1%, our population growth at 2%. So it's not the mass of South Africans that are anti-white, or it's the government and these nasty two parties on the left, supported by America and the West's pathetic leftist media.
This is precisely why the party of rage and extremism gets a megaphone, a stage, and a pat on the back by government officials. It's not because white people really are the problem. It's a calculated move to destabilize the country by pitting easily manipulated people against the productive. The goal? Keep the blame off the elites pulling the strings so their pawns keep voting them into power. And the linchpin of this scheme is to play dumb, pretending violent activists are just exercising free speech. We saw earlier, that is the line President Ramaphosa trotted out when pressed about his meeting with Trump, shrugging off all of this chaos as if it's just a spirited debate, which it's not. It's a deliberate strategy to fan the flames of division while the real culprits dodge accountability. Typical pro-destruction, anti-human, soulless leftist agenda. And by the way, what other chants have we heard in our own country that are being excused as free speech, but have caused unimaginable destruction and chaos?
Free, free. Free, free. No peace. Prosecute the police. No peace. Prosecute.
I mean, were those chants harmless? Were they not meant to incite violence and destruction, to target people that they don't like and to destroy society and make us beg the government to save us? And has all of this been made worse by leftist politicians and media in power who turn the other way and say, it's not happening? Make no mistake, the people pushing this agenda know exactly what they are doing. They are propping up extremists, whether it be Ramaphosa or Julius Malema in South Africa, or Patrice Cullors, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, the screeching panelists of The View, and the talking heads at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, or CBS. These aren't random cheerleaders. These are calculated instigators. Their rhetoric, whether it be kill the boer or endless screeches about colonizers, is designed to unleash the most unhinged, hateful elements of their base. And the goal? Chaos, division, and death. Destabilize society until people are so desperate that they will beg the elites to save them. Look at South Africa. It is a disaster that has been created by these people, where now you can't survive without bars on your windows, an 18-foot barbed wire fence, a pack of pit bulls, and your own private security team. The mess was not an accident. It's the fruit of colonizer propaganda, so-called anti-racist dogma, and power-hungry elitists who act like they're possessed by something straight out of a horror movie. Don't kid yourself. This is the exact blueprint the left wants to import here. They're weaponizing their mindless, hate-filled followers to make it happen. These dangerous ideas are sold as noble fixes to correct past wrongs and inequality, but the results tell the real story. It's not about justice. It's about crippling the masses into a dependent lower class, forced to grovel at the feet of an untouchable elite ruling class just to survive. That's the game, and they are playing it in plain sight. Anyway, I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.